Duh!
Renegade Online.
All right. You know, I kind of wanted to do a video on this a few days ago. And man, guys, this is a busy time of year for me. I am going to do the best I can to keep up. And if I get things out there a couple days late, well, sorry. Anyway, I know you guys like hearing my takes on it. Before I begin, I want you guys to please help me out and make sure you hit the subscribe button that you are subscribed to this channel. Please like this video, share this video out on Twitter and whatever other platform you choose. And make sure to leave a comment below before you leave today. And let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you'd like to hear more about. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. Anything else you want to talk about. We're here to have the conversation, folks. So, again, most importantly, make sure you're subscribed. We got to get up to that 1,000 mark as quick as possible, and I can only do it with your help, and I want to thank you guys so far for the support you've given me up to this point. So let's get right into this. We finally have some type of sensible business perspective on this whole Gina Carano thing, and it's a shame that it has taken us this long to get to this point, but for good or ill, I at least want to give Forbes credit for posting an article like this from a writer that is not very common to Forbes, Gene Del Vecchio. Disney's firing of Gina Carano is confusing and hypocritical, lacking sound management. Yeah, you think? So Gene goes in to say, I've been sitting on this article for a while, allowing my opinion to form. That's something that many companies don't do enough of these days. No shit. Instead, they often rush to conclusions too fast, yielding to the views of a few vocal members of the community rather than allowing time and consideration to inform decisions. The latest example is Disney's firing of Gina Carano from The Mandalorian in February, a conservative who is not shy about expressing her views, the latest being a comment that compared conservatives being silenced and canceled today to Jews being targeted during the Holocaust. She did not do that. That is not what the post was. We can go round and round on this 37 times, but people keep kind of misinterpreting this. The post was about the events that led to the Holocaust. The post was about sowing the seeds of hatred and distrust in society by its governing body to pit one side against the other, and those type of things can eventually lead to the horrors that we saw during that time frame. So let's make sure we're all on the same page with this. And I think that she had a valid comparison that, again, can be debated whether you agree or not. It is a debatable point. It is a point of historical fact. And whether or not you think it's relevant to the issues of today is a topic for a calm, polite, thoughtful adult conversation and not a bunch of screaming twatsies on Twitter. By the way, my new phrase for Twitter in that German political body from just after the Weimar Republic about a century ago. Is it exaggerated comparison? Yes, but enough to fire her? Doubtful. She's more guilty of a bad comparison. Again, that's a debatable point. That's fair. That's a fair point to debate. Whether or not you agree with it one way or another may be a different story, but I think that is a fair point of discussion. But he goes in to say that maybe it should have been compared more to the McCarthy era and things like that, and I think there's some merit to that as well. I think he's on the money there. But here's the thing: is that this is what he is saying. His article is fundamentally accurate. To say that some thought should have gone into this before pulling the trigger is an obvious statement of fact. The problem is that Lucasfilm does not give a crap about sense and pragmatism and running a business successfully because, as I've said before, people like Kathleen Kennedy don't have any skin in the game. She has never really created any successful enterprise on her own. She has always ridden on the backs of other people that got her to where she was. People like Spielberg, people like Richard Donner, people like George Lucas, people like her own husband, Frank Marshall, who because she married him, was able to keep her relevant and keep her around when guys like Spielberg, I think, based on comments that he's made, would have loved to have just brushed her off decades ago. But be that as it may, here we are. Kathy Kennedy is in charge of Lucasfilm, thanks to George, who I think is beating himself up every day over it. And this is where we are because she doesn't care about the Star Wars property. That much is very clear. And as I've also stated before, I think this will be Kathy's last year that we see her running Lucasfilm, even though she may have her hands in Lucasfilm projects down the road like Indy 5 or perhaps even still some Star Wars branded something. It depends what kind of agreement Disney comes to Kathy with to make her walk away quietly, along with a big fat check and an NDA that will last for her entire lifetime. But yeah, expecting Disney to have had this type of, or excuse me, Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy to have had this kind of pragmatism in regards to Gina Carano, whom obviously she despised because Gina represented everything that Kathy is not. An actual strong woman that thinks for herself and that is not afraid to, disagree with people that she works with and stand her ground and have her own opinion and blah, blah, blah. No, you can't have that no matter what Hollywood tells you. You are not allowed to think for yourself. That is for damn sure. And there's some other stories I'm going to try to get to in the next couple of days that will tie into this whole mantra, this whole mindset. Organizations need a more thoughtful system, not a knee-jerk reaction to guide decisions regarding who gets fired. They need to specify what constitutes the most egregious offenses. It needs to be transparent so the rules are known and not hidden in vague platitudes open to interpretation. Well, that's exactly the problem over there, because when you have one person working at Lucasfilm that is going to get fired for saying effectively really nothing offensive, let's be honest. Again, was the interpretation or was the comparison maybe a little clumsy? Again, a point for debate, but to say that she offended an entire race of people that was abhorrent and unacceptable comments and whatever Disney said that was basically libel and slander, no. And then Pedro Pascal gets to stick around actually comparing Trump supporters to that group of people from Germany, making no bones about it. There was no other way to interpret the couple of things that Pedro posted. It was deliberate, it was intentional, it was direct, and it basically left no room for obfuscation. It left no room to be open for any kind of interpretation on whatsoever, and he's still there. Well, maybe he won't be anymore, but not by Kathy's choice. It looks like Pedro is kind of distancing himself and going on to other things to where they'll just have another guy in the Mando suit and Pedro will be a voice actor. I think that's where that's going. And I think that's part of the reason that Season 3 is being delayed, along with the fact that Favreau doesn't want to start shooting anything until he knows definitively whether Kathy is going to stay or go. I don't blame John one bit for putting the brakes on things a little bit right now. And I'm sure Disney's not happy about that. That's their biggest property on Disney+. But here's the thing, and we hadn't talked about this yet, but case in point, a new poll conducted by Public Opinion Strategies found that 58% of people opposed Carano being fired. Damn! That's a lot. Leaving only 28% who felt Disney was justified. But that jumped to a whopping 72% when they actually saw the post that she was fired for. And this is a problem with today's day and age. We read a headline and we think the headline is news. Well, more often than not, the headline is complete BS, and the real story is buried 8 paragraphs down in whatever it is you're reading, because the whole idea is they need clicks. That's revenue these days, is clicks, right? Just like on YouTube, when I ask you guys to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button, all this kind of stuff. Look, the success online, success in promulgating news stories online is based on numbers of clicks and shares and views and things like that. So it's no different for these news stories that they're really not news stories. Let's be honest. They're opinion pieces disguised as news, and that's a crime. It's a moral crime. Let's say it that way. It's an ethical crime. Disney could counter that Carano was terminated for not merely for her last post, but due to an accumulation of posts, blah, blah, blah. So we know all this kind of stuff. Look, all of this hopefully is going to settle down. It seems like it's beginning to. Again, will Gina ever come back? Will Gina ever, be a Star Wars character again? I hope so. I think that door is it's mostly closed, but it's not all the way closed. I think a big part of it will be, again, just like Jon Favreau, will KK stay or will she go? That is going to dictate, I think, whether or not Jon Favreau decides to stick around. And I think if Favreau goes, it's really over. I mean, if Kathy stays and Jon leaves, then then that's it. You know, stick a fork in it, it's done. But I don't think that's going to happen. I still have the faith. I'm still keeping the faith until I have reason not to, that Kathy will be shown the door sometime later this year before the end of October when her current contract is supposedly set to expire. And I think you could see a guy like Favreau decide to bring Gina Carano back in a surprise, not quite obviously the cultural holy shit moment that we had with Skywalker showing up, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least if at some point down the road, if Kathy's gone and John is still there, and he decides to have Cara Dune show up in a surprise appearance in Mando season 4 or 3 or 5 or Ahsoka or something. She could pop up, but it's going to take Kathy being gone and a little bit of time between now and then for that to happen. But I think he knows as well as all of us that the fans would absolutely love it and go bonkers seeing her back in there again, because she was such a staple of that show, and it's a shame that Kennedy, out of spite and hatred and jealousy, did what she did to her. So anyway, that's it for this one. I just wanted to get that out there. And, you know, you guys, again, subscribe, like, share the video, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this. I want to hear from you guys, and we'll be back with more stuff. I'm actually working on a couple of things right now. Going to try to get to talking about what happened last night on the Geeks and Gamers stream with Zack Snyder. That was a gut punch. That was a total gut punch that sucked all the air out of the room. I wasn't able to watch the charity stream. I was working. I was in the middle of something, and by the time I was able to get everything queued up and see what was going on, Jeremy was just about to start his own stream to explain what happened on the charity stream, and I'm like, uh-oh. I knew something bad happened, and yeah, there we were. So we'll have a video on that later as well, and then also a Batman fan fiction movie that I thought was just really great. I watched it last night, and I really enjoyed it. I'm going to talk about that hopefully later this weekend, but this weekend, next weekend is a busy, busy weekend for me, guys, so hang tight. You know, we'll be back, even if I'm going to be a little absent in the next couple of weeks, just from other things going on, but stick around. Take care.